Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with my very late wrap-up for Sobathon and Scallywagathon. I will link my TBR video in the description because it has all of the information on the creators and the challenges and everything like that. And can you guys tell that I just filmed the pride flag book tag? Rocking that rainbow eyeshadow for another video. This should be a pretty quick wrap-up because I actually got very sick during the readathons and then some kind of life stuff happened on top of everything else, and I could not really do much of anything, and when I did read, I was mostly rereading. So anyway, this is not nearly as many books as I hope to read. So the first book I picked up for Sobathon was The Snow Sister by Emma Carroll. This is kind of a short story actually, and the premise of the story, or what it says on the back, is that every Christmas Eve this girl Pearl makes a snowman, like a snow sister, of her sister who died recently, or who died over Christmas, I think the year before, which just sounds so heartbreaking and sad. And I liked this story. I didn't love it. For one thing, the whole snow sister thing and her relationship with her sister, it didn't end up being that big of a part of the story. And that kind of makes sense because part of the story was about her family healing from that, or trying to heal and to move forward from that tragedy. But it still kind of felt like maybe that shouldn't have been the naming influence and the selling point of this story, because that wasn't really a big part of it. I do like the writing and I did like Pearl, but I just felt like something was missing. There was this mysterious letter, and then Pearl had to kind of figure out what that meant for her family, and I just didn't get what I wanted from this book. There wasn't a lot of family connection, and there was also this thing about the ending that kind of bothered me. I understand, I think, what the author was going for. It was this, without giving anything away, it was kind of about how happiness is not always dependent on kind of materialism, your possessions and your wealth and everything, and I get that, and that's a good message, but kind of the way it was handled made me think okay, but Pearl, your family was starving. Maybe you should be just a little more kind of open to using material goods to not die, and to for your family to take care of each other. I don't know if any of this is coming across well, but I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. I think I'm going to like her other stories better. Next, for Scallywagathon, I picked up The Star of Kazan by Eva Ibbotson. So this book follows our main character, who is kind of adopted by this house of professors and their 2 servants. And then her birth mother comes back and wants to whisk her away to her ancestral home, and everything looks like it's going to change. And Annika, our main character, is not sure she wants that to happen. So I really enjoyed this one. I especially loved the beginning where we're in Vienna and we're really seeing how Annika lives, and these people around her, and her found family is just, it's so beautiful and wonderful. And actually one of my favorite chapters in the whole book was one at the beginning where it's just kind of setting the stage and talking about Vienna in this time period. It was so beautifully done, and I really loved the writing throughout this book. And I did like Annika as well. I really liked some of the side characters. At one point she makes friends with a Romani boy, and I really liked their relationship and their friendship. I do want to point out that at times they used the word Romani and sometimes they used more insulting language. Most of the time when that happened, it was for a character we were not supposed to like, so it was kind of, I think we were meant to assume that was bad, but I just want to point that out. So I really enjoyed the adventure aspects of this book, even though, like I said, my favorite part was just Annika being happy in Vienna, but I loved the emphasis on people who are not necessarily related to you still being your true family. That was really wonderful and beautifully done. And the only thing I really disliked was there was one thing about the ending that I think in some ways it kind of undercut the positive message of the rest of the book. But overall, I really enjoyed this one. It did get surprisingly dark in places. There is a trigger warning for suicide, so I just want to make that clear. But I ended up really enjoying this, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, for Sobathon, I picked up Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I have tried to figure out what the accepted pronunciation is. Are we supposed to say 451? 451? What's going on? I have heard very strong opinions on all sides, so I'm just gonna say it however I want. But anyway, this is a classic novel that I knew almost nothing about. I knew about the book burning and everything, and I knew that Ray Bradbury got really frustrated throughout his life because people took it as a message against censorship, and while that was part of the book, he wrote it because he hated TV, so he wanted to like take down television and like open people's eyes to how bad television was going to be for everything, like for humanity and the written word and all of this. So that was all I really knew about this book, and I loved this so much. I had no idea how the plot was going to go for the majority of the book. I don't actually want to give too much of a plot summary because I think reading classic novels, that's something that I really like to do blind, and I think you get the most out of it, especially a book like this. So if by any chance you don't know the majority of the story, I would say don't look it up before reading it. This is just such a powerful book, and even though, like I said, it was more about like television and kind of the media than censorship and everything, I really loved the parts that were about reading and were about censorship, and this book definitely made me cry. There was one part in particular near the ending that was just, it was so unexpected because, as I said, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was just, like, I was crying. It was so emotional, so powerful. There were some unexpectedly, like, beautiful and uplifting moments in this book. I loved this book. I can absolutely 100% see why it is a classic and why it is taught in schools, even though it was never taught in my school. And Rocky from Blonde with a Book always, like, talks about this book, and I can definitely see why. This is just, it's an incredible novel, so important, so short, but it packs such a punch, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next for Sobathon, I picked up Dumplin by Julie Murphy. This book is about a girl named Willowdean, but her mother calls her Dumplin, and she is plus-sized, and she's always been very comfortable in her body. She accepts this, she loves herself, she's cool with it. But then she starts getting interested in a boy, and that kind of makes her start doubting herself. She starts not liking the skin she's in. She decides to combat this. She's going to enter the beauty pageant in her town. And in the midst of all of this, Willowdean is dealing with some really stressful friend situations. She is dealing with the loss of somebody very close to her, and she is also dealing with her mother and the fact that her mother just does not understand how to be supportive of her daughter. So starting with the characters, I had kind of mixed feelings about them. I did like how complex they were and how good Julie Murphy was at showing people can love each other and still treat each other badly, still say something horrible to them, like still like make them unhappy sometimes. I thought that was really well done and really important. I had some issues with how Willowdean handled her relationships, not so much her friends, because I do understand what happened with her and her best friend. I totally understand where Willowdean was coming from and like why she was upset, but more like the romantic stuff. There's kind of a love triangle in this book, except not really, because you know the whole time who she is going to end up with and who Willowdean really wants to end up with. And I really didn't like how she like led this other boy on, especially because there was a part where it like he almost explicitly said like, I'd like to date you, but if you don't want to go out with me, I'd really like to be your friend, or something like that. So Willowdean had the option to say like, yeah, let's just be friends, let's hang out, because she did enjoy spending time with him, but she didn't do that. Instead, she just kept letting him think he had a chance when really she was in love with this other guy the whole time. And that was another thing I didn't like, was her relationship with this boy she's in love with. I kept waiting for the like developmental stage of their relationship so we could see why they really cared about each other, and like we didn't really get that. We just kind of started out with her loving him, and it was sort of like, I don't even remember if she was in love with this guy like before page 1 and then this is just a continuation, or if it was just a very quick crush that developed into a really intense crush. I don't even remember like the timeline for their relationship, but it felt kind of underdeveloped. It did get a little better later on in the book, when we started to see like some more personality from the boy. We didn't get to see like many meaningful interactions between them. So I was kind of left like, why do you guys like each other? And especially given like that was a pretty much a driving force for the plot, that wasn't so great. I think my favorite part of the book by far was seeing Willowdean start to make friends with other girls and like just spending time with them and getting to know them. There were also some diverse side characters, which was great to see. And that part of the book, I think I would have loved to see even more of that and kind of get rid of some of the boy drama, because we didn't need that. And then overall, I did also enjoy the ending. So this was kind of a mixed bag, as you can tell from my disjointed review, but I am glad I read it. I am really, really excited to read the companion sequel, Puddin', because the main character it follows, Millie, was one of my favorite characters from this book, so definitely glad I read it. I had some issues with it, but I gave Dumplin 3.5 stars. And then finally, before we wrap this up, I started The House of the Four Winds by Mercedes Lackey and James Mallory. I did just want to like mention that this is kind of a currently reading for Scallywagathon, even though it ended ages ago, because for some reason, it's taking me forever to get through this book, even though I am enjoying it. Please let me know in the comments if you guys participated in either or both of these readathons and something you read that you really enjoyed. I will see you guys soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!